The history of Iraq over the past 4 decades has been shaped by 3 major wars. Conflicts that ravaged its cities, devastated its economy, and altered its currency beyond recognition. Each war was driven by a unique mixture of ambition, fear, and survival. But together, they left a nation struggling to rebuild amid misinformation, mistrust, and deep international divides. Today we take an in-depth look at Iraq's last 3 wars: the Iran-Iraq War, the Gulf War, and the Iraq War of 2003, exploring their causes, their destructive impact on infrastructure and currency, and the complex legacy they left behind.
As time moves forward, we are learning that the accusation of Saddam having weapons of mass destruction may not have been the real reason for Bush II to encourage re-entering Iraq with force. Something deeper, something darker was going on. Perhaps we will learn more in the coming years, but for now we must accept what they tell us. Knowledge is power, but understanding is wisdom.
The first of Iraq's modern wars began on September 22, 1980. Iraq, under the leadership of President Saddam Hussein, launched an invasion of neighboring Iran. The goal? To seize control of the oil-rich Khuzestan region, assert dominance in the Persian Gulf, and take advantage of Iran's post-revolution instability. However, what was expected to be a quick victory turned into a brutal 8-year war, one of the longest conventional wars of the 20th century. The infrastructure damage was immense. Ports like Basra were bombarded, oil production facilities were destroyed, bridges, roads, and power grids across southern Iraq were shattered, millions of civilians were displaced. The Iraqi dinar, once strong and trading at about $3 per 1 IQD in the 1970s, began to lose its value as war expenses skyrocketed. Iraq borrowed heavily from countries like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, digging itself into deep debt. Despite suffering heavy losses, Iraq portrayed itself as the defender of the Arab world against Persian expansionism. But beneath the surface, the economic strain was undeniable, and cracks in the economy had started to form. Only 2 years after a bloody ceasefire with Iran, Iraq stumbled into another conflict. On August 2, 1990, Saddam Hussein ordered the invasion of Kuwait. He accused Kuwait of overproducing oil and slant drilling into Iraqi oil fields, which, he claimed, hurt Iraq's post-war economy. In truth, Saddam also needed Kuwait's vast oil wealth to rebuild Iraq's shattered finances. The Gulf War, also known as Operation Desert Storm, saw a United States-led coalition of 35 nations launch a massive military operation to drive Iraqi forces out of Kuwait. The war officially began in January 1991 and lasted just 42 days. The infrastructure damage was catastrophic. Coalition airstrikes decimated power plants, water treatment facilities, oil refineries, transportation networks, and military bases. Iraq's ability to generate electricity, distribute clean water, and export oil was crippled. The United Nations imposed economic sanctions that further crushed the Iraqi economy. The Iraqi dinar plummeted to near-worthless levels. By the mid-1990s, you needed thousands of dinars to buy a single United States dollar. Counterfeit currency flooded the country. Inflation skyrocketed. Iraqis faced shortages of basic goods. The once proud Iraqi middle class was thrown into poverty almost overnight. The third and most devastating war came in March 2003. The United States, along with Britain and a coalition of allies, invaded Iraq under the claim that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction and posed a threat to global security. No significant stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction were found, but the damage was done. The initial bombings and the ensuing insurgency led to the collapse of Iraq's governmental institutions. Looters ransacked government ministries, museums, and hospitals. Oil pipelines were sabotaged. Electricity grids remained offline for years. The violence destroyed key sectors of Iraq's economy and urban society. In 2003, Iraq issued a new Iraqi dinar to replace the old Saddam-era bills. The new currency helped stabilize inflation, but confidence was, still pretty fragile. The dinar floated unofficially against the dollar, tightly managed by the Central Bank of Iraq with U.S. assistance. Despite some stabilization, the value remained weak compared to pre-war years, hovering at around 1,450 dinars to the dollar for much of the post-war period. The war gutted Iraq's economic output, even though Iraq held and still holds one of the world's largest oil reserves. Rebuilding Iraq proved to be as difficult, if not more so, than the wars themselves. Within the United States, sharp divisions arose over how to proceed. Some believed a rapid withdrawal was necessary to avoid being mired in an endless occupation. Others argued for long-term engagement to help Iraq rebuild its political, economic, and civil structures. Misinformation plagued efforts at reconstruction. Contracts were awarded to companies with political connections rather than those with proven capabilities. Billions of dollars meant for rebuilding disappeared in mismanaged projects or outright corruption. Promised infrastructure repairs like electricity and water supplies moved slowly or were abandoned altogether. Inside Iraq, mistrust festered. Iraqis questioned whether the United States truly intended to help, or whether it was merely another occupier after the nation's oil wealth. Meanwhile, sectarian violence surged, tearing apart communities along Sunni, Shiite, and Kurdish lines, further complicating rebuilding efforts. The dream of a stable, prosperous Iraq seemed distant, overshadowed by new wars, internal divisions, and lost trust on both sides of the Atlantic. Today, Iraq remains a nation of resilience. Despite the scars of war, its people push forward, rebuilding roads, reopening schools, restarting businesses, and striving for a better future. The story of Iraq's three great wars is not just a story of conflict. It is a story of survival, of loss, of rebuilding against all odds, and of the ongoing hope that one day, Iraq will reclaim its rightful place in the world economy. The past is not forgotten, but the future is still unwritten. Credits. Research completed by C. Ingram. Video published by Edu Matrix Channel. Thanks for watching, a part of the channel's evergreen content.